Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Now today I'm going to be showing you the last of my Beatles UK EPs, and they'll be ranging from 1964 until 1966. Now I won't be showing the Magical Mystery Tour EP in this video, and that is because I've actually already done a video on that. Now there'll be a link to it in the description if you would like to watch my Magical Mystery Tour video so you can see my EP collection. So if you want to, feel free to check that out. But anyway, I'm just going to get straight on with this week's video. So the first one is the first Beatles for Sale EP, and that has 4 tracks from the album. So you've got Rock and Roll Music, No Reply, 8 Days a Week, which was a single in America but not in England, unfortunately, and I'm a Loser. So the front of the EP is just the same as the album, really. And here is the back. Apart from a little name in the corner, it's in pretty good condition, although it's a bit worn. So as you can see, Pat Baker in the corner there. So you've got a little write-up by Tony Barrow, as usual. And this was made by Garrett and Lofthouse and came out in April of 1965. So here is the label for the Beatles for Sale EP. It's got the sold in the UK text and the Parlophone Company Limited at the beginning of the perimeter text. The labels aren't in the best condition. There is some damage, unfortunately, but it plays okay, this copy. So the Beatles for Sale EPs aren't that hard to get, but they aren't the easiest ones to get. And the later Beatles EPs, kind of from here on out, are a lot harder to get than the original ones, like Twist and Shout. By the original ones, sorry, I mean the early EPs. So the ones that were released like in 1963 seem to sell a lot better. Plus, I think the problem with the later Beatles EPs is that they were released usually quite a few months after the album from which the tracks came was released. So by that time, most people already owned the songs anyway. So it would be a bit pointless buying the EP as well. And of course, by the late 60s, the EP format was dying out too. And here's another copy of the EP, which is pretty much just the same as the last one I've shown you. It's in a similar condition as well. And here is the label. There we go. Now the next EP is also from Beatles for Sale, and it's just called Beatles for Sale number 2. And here is the cover for it. There we go. And here is the back of the sleeve. And the 4 tracks you get on this EP are I'll Follow the Sun, Babies in Black, Words of Love, and I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. So another 4 good tracks from the album there. And interestingly, it advertises all the previous EP releases from the Beatles. So that's good. And here is the vinyl. And here's the label. So it's very similar to the last one because it's got the sold in the UK text. However, this has the Gramophone Company Limited at the beginning of the perimeter text rather than the Parlophone Company Limited. So that's changed now. And here's side 2. And I've also got another copy of this EP, however it's not in anywhere near as good a condition as the last one. As you can see, the cover's pretty damaged, pretty worn, and the back isn't good either. It's full of the Beatles' names, not signatures unfortunately, one of the Beatles' names written over and over again. So you've got George Harrison and Ringo and Paul and John. So obviously some fans just scribbled over it over the years. Now the vinyl on that copy is just the same as the last one, so there wasn't really anything to see there. However, my third and final copy of this EP is a 70s reissue, and it's in much nicer condition as a result. There's the back, which is lovely and white, and the actual vinyl is here. Let's take it out. So this is actually a solid centre copy, with it being a 70s reissue. They did them as solid centres, and it hasn't got any of the sold in the UK text or anything on the label. And the perimeter text begins with EMI Records Limited instead of the Gramophone Company Limited. And here's side 2. And the next EP is the Beatles Million Sellers. Or is it? Now, I'll tell you what I mean by that in just a moment, just once we've looked at the tracks. So anyway, the 4 tracks to get on here are all Beatles singles. She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, Can't Buy Me Love, and I Feel Fine. So 4 excellent songs, good value for money. And there's the back of the sleeve. Again, it advertises all the Beatles EP releases, including Beatles for Sale number 2, which obviously wasn't advertised on the back of that very EP. Right, so the EP on the cover, it says it's called the Beatles Million Sellers. However, if we look on the label, which is here, it says the Beatles Golden Discs. So you've got 2 different EP titles here. Now the reason for that is because the EP was originally going to be called the Beatles Golden Discs. However, at the last minute, they decided to change the album title to the Beatles Million Sellers. However, by the time they made that decision, it was too late, because a lot of the records had already been printed to satisfy the pre-orders of the EP. So the very first issues of this have the Beatles Golden Discs title on the label. But later pressings will have the proper Beatles Million Sellers title on the label, and I'll show you that after this. And here's side 2. And the EP has the sold in the UK text and the Gramophone Company Limited on the perimeter print. So here's a later copy of the Beatles Million Sellers, which is in better condition, apart from a little bend on the flip back there. So this is a 70s copy of the EP, and as you can see, the title has now correctly been printed as Beatles Million Sellers rather than Beatles Golden Discs. And the 70s copy doesn't have the sold in the UK text and has EMI Records in the perimeter print. And there's side 2 as well. Now the next 2 EPs are very rare indeed, particularly the second one, and they are the last 2 Beatles EPs before the Magical Mystery Tour EP came out. So the first one is the Yesterday EP, and this had 4 songs from the Help album, and I really like the cover photo for the EP. I think that's a really good photo. Now here's the back. This is a nice original copy. Once more, advertises the Beatles EPs on the left, and there's the 4 tracks. So you get Yesterday, Act Naturally, You Like Me Too Much, and It's Only Love. And this EP came out in March of 1966, and bearing in mind the Help album came out in sort of early to mid 1965. I can't remember the exact month off the top of my head. And then Rubber Soul came out late 1965. So this EP is from 2 whole albums ago, and it was coming out in 1966, The Eye of Revolver. So really, it was the wrong time, in my opinion, to be issuing an EP of material from the Help album, because no one was going to really buy it at the end of the day, because everyone would have had the songs at that point, really. So still, that's why it's so hard to get. and still a nice EP in my opinion. And here is the EP. So same formula of having the sold in the UK text and the gramophone, company limited, perimeter print. So to find an original copy of this is quite difficult. They are out there, but they aren't as cheap as the other EPs. And this next copy is just a reissue, which I had before I had my original copy, and this was just basically so I had a copy to play. And the record for this one is of course on the later label. And here that is, with the EMI Records limited perimeter text, and no sold in the UK. And now we move on to the hardest EP from the Beatles to get, the hardest UK Beatles EP to get, and this is the Nowhere Man EP. So here it is. First of all, I just want to say I love the album, sorry, the EP cover here. Very, very good. And the 4 tracks you get are Nowhere Man, Drive My Car, Michelle, and You Won't See Me. So this EP is from the Rubber Soul album. And I'll show you the back of the sleeve. Now, on the one hand, this is a beautiful white copy. However, it's unfortunately spoiled by some totally pointless underlining of the EPs that are advertised on the back. If it hadn't been for that underlining, this would be an absolutely immaculate copy. But oh well. So anyway, if we look down here, this was released in July of 1966. So this was released a few months before the release of the Revolver album, but the best part of a year after the Rubber Soul album. So again, most people would have had this material by now. And here is the label for the Nowhere Man EP, in pretty good condition. The vinyl plays through very nicely. And here is side 2. And this is a later copy of the Nowhere Man EP, the 70s copy. There's the back, and here's the vinyl. There we go. So same as the rest of the 70s presents. But seriously, original copies of the Nowhere Man EP are really expensive, particularly solid centre copies. I remember I once saw a solid centre copy about 2 or 3 years ago go for £200 on eBay in a furious bidding war. So it's a difficult EP to get, and I was only able to get this copy less than a year ago, so it took me a while to find one. Now I just wanted to finish off by showing this EP from the 90s, which was released alongside the Live at the BBC album. This is the Baby It's You EP. Now, some people don't class this as an EP, they say it's just like a 4-track single, but I class it as an EP. So this is from the 90s, and it's live versions of Baby It's You, I'll Follow the Sun, Devil in Her Heart, and Boys. And here's the back. These tracks are in mono, by the way. So it tells you a bit about the recordings of each of the tracks, where they were from and when they were first broadcast. And this is on Apple, so here's the Apple label of the 90s. And here's the B-side, or side 2 I should say. Okay, so that's the end of my UK EP collection. I hope you all really enjoyed seeing these. And my next video will be showing my pretty small collection, to be honest, of foreign EPs. So I hope you all tune in for that. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.